8 photographs of the target lot with respect to cameras.
Very well.
Roberts, we talked yesterday about the Target parking lot and the fact that you went out to that location on multiple days. Looking at what's now been marked as People's 214, and Your Honor, there's a number 2 in the right, lower left corner. Do you know what's depicted here?
Yes, that's within the red circles is just showing where the surveillance cameras are located on that portion of the front of the building, the target.
Showing you, I think you talked about this yesterday, 214 with the 3 in the lower left corner. You mentioned a camera that was facing the area where one would enter. What do we see here?
Yes, that's a camera that kind of covers that, I guess it would be the northeast corner of the building.
As well as the cameras we just looked at in 214, or at least one of them, number 2, orienting it from another angle as well as another camera facing the parking lot?
Correct.
Okay. Showing you People's 214 with a 4 in the lower left corner. Are these additional cameras on the front of the building facing the parking lot?
Yes, these are the cameras that will pick up the far end of the parking lot that runs adjacent to the freeway.
The one, the area where Robert Baker parked and backed in the rented silver Nissan Versa?
Correct.
Showing you People's 214, number 5. Is this showing some of these cameras at the front of the building facing, taken from a different perspective?
Correct.
Towards the direction from which Robert Baker would have walked into the store on January 23rd of 2017?
Yes, exactly.
Showing you People's 214 with a 6 in the lower left corner. Here we go. Can you tell us what we see here, starting with the photograph on the left?
This is going to capture the door when you enter the target, the front entrance.
Okay. The one on the left from a backed out viewpoint, so you have some context, and a close-up in the one on the lower right corner.
That's correct. Showing
you People's 214, where there's a 7 in the lower left corner. Are these photographs taken from the back area of that lot facing the Target store?
Yes.
And to the right in the lower left corner, lower right corner.
Are these photos of the date of the murder or just photos?
I'm going to object to the speaking objection.
If you're objecting as this is assuming facts on evidence or things of that nature, so ruled. You're free to inquire from examination.
Thank you.
Again, what do we see here in these 2 photographs, Detective?
This is just an overall of the parking lot, and I believe you were pointing out the area on the very right end of the photo, exactly where your pen is there. That is where you would enter.
And just to the right of where the entrance is, that would be where that building is that we looked at yesterday that had a white roof where the Payless store was located.
Correct.
All right. Showing you People's 214, this photograph has a 9, Your Honor, in the lower left corner. Can you orient us as to what we're looking at here?
Sure. So this area here where you see the green, I guess it's a trash dumpster, it's hard to tell. That was the area that we saw where Baker pulls into when he repositions the Nissan Versa.
Looks like it's maybe a,
Sort of maybe a storage or.
okay. And that was the area where we talked about there was a small pedestrian gate that leads you through into the shopping center adjacent to the Target parking lot, correct?
Correct.
And then what do we see to the left here? Yes.
This is, so if you went into that little pedestrian gate, you would come around, walk through that pedestrian gate and come out this area, or you could just walk along this sidewalk and through this driveway, and it takes you around to Ventura Boulevard.
Okay. Where the entrance is back into the Target parking lot.
Correct.
And this area here, where I'm pointing with my pen to the left, this is that other shopping center area that feeds into or from the Target parking lot, correct?
Yes.
And if one were to go through this this shopping center, does that also lead you out onto, I think it's DeSoto there?
Yes, I believe you can exit either DeSoto or Ventura Boulevard.
Yes. Showing you People's 14, there's a 10 in the lower left corner, Your Honor. Can you describe for us what we see here?
This, again, is that area where we see the vehicle repark. And over here would have been in the previous photo where we saw that green, whatever it was, it's no longer there, but this is to illustrate the parking area.
Okay, the green storage container.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and this area here would feed you into that shopping center that we saw in the previous exhibit, People's 214, number 9.
Correct.
Now, at this point, I want to move back to the timeline and looking at what we see displayed this morning in the top right corner. Do you know what this is a notice of coming in on the defendant, Monica Sementilli's phone, this text message, what this relates to?
Again, this is a notification that she's receiving from her security system that her closet mirror is opened.
That's key to it, that was asked and answered yesterday.
Overruled.
Okay, and that comes in the text message at 2:03 in the afternoon, prior to the time that the defendant leaves her home.
That's correct.
Were you aware, from your review of the interviews in this case, that in the recording of the interview that took place on May 18th, 2017, at the defendant's home with Detective Parshall, Detective Gable, and Detective Tellis, that she indicated to them during the course of that interview that Fabio used the safe for various items, but she did not?
Yes.
Were you also aware that she told detectives?
I'm going to check. This is argumentative and already.
I have no idea. I haven't heard the question yet. I'll take your objection as submission.
I believe it was during the Perkins operation when she was subsequent to her arrest on June 14th of 2017 that Detective Gable came to the cell door and mentioned that warrants were being served simultaneously at her home and Baker's and other locations, and she was asked about the code to the safe that she indicated that she never used the safe and she didn't know what the password was.
Overruled.
Yes.
All right.
And you believe in this case here?
Overruled.
From your review of the various reports and evidence in this case, was the safe the area where the victim in this case, Fabio Sementilli, stored or kept his gold coins, which I believe was also testified to the other day when you were here by a witness, Sam Pulera?
Argumentative Ms. Stacy Evans?
Overruled.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Now we're going to move on to the slide at 3:26 in the afternoon, where the defendant leaves her residence, and I want you to give us, when you look at the video and the timeline, how long it takes her to get to the area where the Ralph's Market would be, which is the corner of Ventura and Winnetka.
Yes.
I believe.
And Ms. Stacy Evans leaving the residence going to the
Overruled.
I'm sorry, going to the Target, but what I'm asking, again, I'm asking about the time period when she passes on the video the Ralph's Market, again, at the corner of Winnetka and Ventura.
Yes, I understand. Okay, so we know through this video that she leaves the residence at 3:26 p.m. in the black Ford F-150 and travels down Oakdale.
We can move on to the next.
As she's driving, there's a series of 2 Viber messages between Monica Sementilli and Robert Baker.
Okay.
This is now the video that captures her sort of skirting around the traffic to go through the light at Winnetka, and it takes her just 2 minutes to get there.
So at this point, she's passed the Ralph's, which took 2 minutes to get there,
Correct.
and she is on her way to the Target lot.
Yes. We're seeing here just a minute after her passing the Ralph's, a text message from Monica to Robert Baker at 3:29, 41 seconds.
Okay.
And just a little under 2 minutes later, she enters, or we see Monica driving the black F-150 enter the Target lot.
saw the previous one where she was caught on video on her way to the location.
Sustained.
On video, captured on video, 3:29 and 44 seconds within the red circle.
Yes.
At the center left area. Is that the black Ford F-150?
Yes.
And the purple area, is that the circle in the towards the center of this particular video? Is that the location of the Payless store?
Yes.
And the photograph, or what's circled in green to the right in the center, is that the same area where Baker had reparked his vehicle and it still remains at the back of the lot?
Yes.
Okay. And is this her taking a right into the Target parking lot?
Yes.
Okay. And then taking a left towards the Payless?
That's
If you-
correct.
If you could back up just a few frames, please. Okay. Can you tell us what you see on the video, captured on the video at this point, in the purple circle?
Yes, if you really pay attention to that corner of that white building, when we talked about how the cameras were blurry, but you can see movement, and it's easily, at least it was easy for me to distinguish between the movement of a car and the movement of a person walking through the lot. If you pay attention to that corner, you can see the shadow of a person come from that corner and walk into the lot.
Now, when you went out to the Target parking lot, did you note that there was actually that area there has cars, but that that are parked, as we see along the diagonal area here?
Yes.
That when this the defendant's Ford F-150 comes around, that it actually stops in a lane of traffic.
Yes.
You can play that slowly.
No, this is all leading.
So ruled.
Right there, is that a figure?
Yes. Appears to be wearing dark clothing.
Okay. See that figure right there?
Yes.
Okay. Again there.
Yep.
Walking towards the vehicle.
That's correct.
And then the Ford F-150 stops.
And it's very hard to see, but you can see the movement of that shadow come around the front of the F-150.
And at that point, does it appear that the individual who we saw walking along as you're facing the Target store, the left side of the building where there's a walkway that feeds you from Ventura Boulevard, that the figure comes around the front of the vehicle to the front passenger side of the vehicle?
Yes.
The leading.
Sustained?
Okay.
On timing, Mr. Levine.
Tell me what you see.
You almost simultaneously as the F-150 nears that corner of the Payless, you see that figure come out of the corner of the Payless, approach the car as it comes to a stop. The figure walks around the front of the F-150 to the passenger side of the vehicle.
And at that point, does the Ford F-150 then move forward and park?
Yes,
Is that what we're seeing here at 3:30 and 22 seconds?
that's correct.
And the figure is no longer there.
Right, you don't see the figure leave the area after the Ford F-150 reparks.
And then what do we see here happen with respect to where the Ford F-150 parks?
It parks on that very far corner. It's almost the last parking spot in that row at the very back of the lot. And it remains there for a little over 4 minutes.
Okay, let me ask you another question while we're stopped at this point. Just to the right of that red circle where the defendant parked in the Ford F-150 to the rear of the target lot, just to the right of that in the green circle, what do we see there?
That is indicating the location where the Robert Baker had repositioned the silver Nissan.
Okay. And what do we see here?
This is just orientating you to the green circle. That's that little alcove where Baker had repositioned the car, and the red circle is the F-150. It's just showing you the relationship to the parking lot and where they're both parked.
Okay. And then during that 4-minute period, when Baker's vehicle is at the back of the lot to the right and the defendant's vehicle is parked to the back of the lot just to the left of him, are there any Viber messages during that 4.5-minute period?
There are not.
Okay. Moving on to the time period between 3:34 and 3:42 in the afternoon on January 23rd of 2017. Looking at 3:34, what do we see here?
We're going to see after that 4.5 approximate time frame, Monica back out of that spot that she's parked into the rear of the lot and repark her F-150 a little closer to the entrance. So we just kind of see slowly the car moving through the lot towards the entrance to the target and repark.
Okay, and does this show us the, let's go back. In this slide here, does it show us the context of the location now where she's reparked towards the front of the target? It's sort of in the middle area, it looks like, of the lot, and with Baker's vehicle still there on the same area where he had reparked.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, looking at 3:36 p.m., what do we see here?
That is Monica sending a Viber message to Robert Baker. Then 1 minute later, approximately 3 minutes after Monica reparks the F-150, we see the Robert Baker driving the silver Nissan exit the parking lot.
I'm going to object to Robert Baker. That's a conclusion.
Sustained.
His vehicle at that point drives away from the target location, and he's not seen at that location again after that?
That's correct.
What do we see here at 3:36 and 29 seconds?
We're going to see the silver Nissan exiting the parking lot. If I recall correctly, he actually exits through that alternate exit that we were talking about.
Okay.
We don't have video of whether he travels on to DeSoto or Ventura after that.
And at that point,
Again, Your Honor, objection, the conclusion to who's driving.
it's an inference reasonable to
So,
remember.
excuse me, that's for argument, not for evidence. Sustained.
Okay. At this point, the vehicle drives towards as we talked about, the other shopping center that is to the left in this particular diagram, or behind the Target parking lot.
Correct.
And at that point, there's no video that shows whether he traveled directly forward, which would be towards, is that DeSoto?
Yes.
Or whether he takes a left and goes out to Ventura Boulevard, where I believe we see that marked on the diagram. Is that correct? It says Ventura Boulevard?
Your Honor, this is all speculation and argument.
The term he, I would refer to that as the vehicle. Proceed.
I'm talking about where it went or did not go.
Oh, overruled.
Is that correct, that the Ventura Boulevard is marked on the diagram there? It shows us, if you were to turn left, that you would hit Ventura Boulevard?
That's correct.
Okay. So at that point, there's no videotape, so we don't know which direction he traveled.
We don't know which direction the vehicle traveled.
Okay. All right. And now, what do we see happen a half a minute later, 30 seconds later, even less than that, 3:37 and 56 seconds.
There is an outgoing call, and it's Monica calling Jessica, her daughter.
And is this while her vehicle is still parked in the Target parking lot, now has been reparked towards the center of the lot, towards
Yes.
the front of the building?
Yes.
Okay. And what do we see here at the same, approximately the same time, just a few minutes later, a few seconds later?
It's just the same information, that same call logging.
Okay. And what do we see here at 3:39?
So, yeah, approximately 3 minutes after the F-150 is reparked, we will see Monica exit that vehicle and walk through the lot and into the Target.
And where the red circle is indicated with a white box on it, does this track her progress as she walks from the Ford F-150 towards the front of the store?
Yes.
And then at this point here, 3:39, in about 10 seconds, do we lose sight of her?
We lose
Which
sight,
is-
very,
yes.
very quickly lose sight, and then pick it back up a few seconds later. This interior camera catches her actually inside the store now.
Okay. And at that point, do we lose sight of her in the store?
Yes. Actually, then she pops back into frame, and she's got her cart and walks towards do her shopping.
Okay.
And then we do lose sight until she exits.
All right. And then what do we, oops. what do we see happen now after she enters the store at 3:40 p.m.?
Monica sends a text message, instant message to Jessica, her daughter, reminding her, don't be late for babysitting.
And again, at this point, she's using regular communication, so we have the content. Is that correct? That's how you know it says don't be late for babysitting?
That's correct. And we know based on the information that Jessica at this point hasn't left the Sementilli residence. She's still there along with Fabio.
Okay. And they're the only two in the residence at that point as depicted in the top left corner.
Correct.
All right. And what do we see here at 3:41?
This is the response from Jessica to Monica. I won't, LOL, laugh out loud.
And what is the next thing that we see happen at 3:47?
So we'll see Jessica leaving the Sementilli residence. She pulls out of the resident driveway, makes that same exit path on Queen Victoria to Oakdale. And here she is driving the red convertible Mustang.
Same vehicle we saw yesterday that she drove with her mother to the LA Fitness.
Correct.
Okay. So now at this point, Fabio is he home alone? There's no one else in the residence besides him?
He's home alone.
Okay. And this is just a couple minutes after the defendant messaged Jessica not to be late.
Correct.
Okay. What's the next event that we see?
So this is Monica's cell phone activating that IDMSS light app system, which we know is that surveillance system that plugs directly into the IP address of the Sementilli residence. And that's at 3:53 and 57 seconds.
So, about 6 minutes after, 12 minutes after she contacted her daughter not to be late, and about 6 minutes after Jessica leaves, the defendant connects to the application to view her home surveillance cameras.
Yes.
Okay?
That was the
It is, but there's also untimely. It's overruled.
And what do we see next?
During this period from 4 p.m. to about 4:15 p.m., Monica's cell phone connects with the IP address to the Sementilli residence 8 times.
Okay.
we got his face together.
It's overruled.
And this indicates the distance between the target and the Sementilli residence
Yes, it's,
at 2 miles.
yes, it is. It's 2
Does
miles.
that appear to be consistent with what you know it to be?
Yeah, I believe it's almost exactly 2 miles from the Sementilli residence to the target.
Okay.
Well, that calls for conclusion depending on the route we take here.
Overruled.
And what is the next event that we see here at 4:18 p.m.?
This is the video that depicts Robert Baker and Christopher Austin running up Oakdale towards the Sementilli residence.
And this is at
I believe it was 4:18.
4:18 p.m.
Correct. 4:18 p.m. Of course, their faces are covered, and they've taken measures to not be recognized, obviously. We see 'em-
Faces are covered, hands are covered.
yeah, and when face is like completely covered, you can't see anything other than the nose area. They round the corner and run up Queen Victoria, which would be towards the Sementilli residence.
Okay. So, what is the next event?
Incoming call to Monica from her daughter Isabella, and that's at 4:22 with 9 seconds.
And yesterday, I believe we saw that at 1:40 on this date, the defendant messaged Bella to let her know when she was on her way home.
Yes.
Okay. And almost simultaneous with the incoming call from Bella to the defendant, what do we see?
Object, that's argumentative.
So ruled.
This is, it's just the cell phone, sometimes the records come in this way and it almost double captures the call. I believe, it's my opinion that this is the same call,
Okay.
just recorded 2 seconds later.
No foundation.
Overruled.
Okay. What's the next thing that we see?
This is Monica Sementilli placing an outgoing call to Isabella about 2 minutes after the incoming call from Isabella.
Okay. And then what do we see at 4:27, 3 minutes after
Monica,
she completes the call?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Monica receiving an incoming call from Joseph Cohen, OD.
And do you know who that is?
I believe it's a dentist, her dentist, I believe.
Could that be?
Or an eye doctor, I'm sorry, eye doctor,
Yeah.
sorry.
And with respect to, again, your review of the evidence in this case, as we will see, was Bella after school. I think we talked about yesterday that she was going for an interview at a deli, and then after that was going to, as she told detectives in her interview, pick up a set of eyeglasses on her way home.
Correct.
Okay. And so at this point, at 4:27, after the defendant ends her call with Bella, the defendant then has a call from the eye doctor.
Yes.
Okay. And then what do we see after that incoming call?
Monica places an outgoing call to the same eye doctor.
Okay. Would that be consistent with being on the call with Isabella when a call is coming in from the eye doctor, missing the call from the eye doctor, or switching over to the call from the eye doctor, or calling that eye doctor back?
Objection, leading speculation.
Sustain on the second round.
Okay. From your review of the records, the CDRs, was it consistent with the defendant being on the phone with Isabella and then calling back the eye doctor.
Same objection.
Yes, it's consistent with missing a call and calling that person back.
Okay. And let's look at the next event. And this is occurring while the defendant is inside the Target store, correct?
Yes, these calls occurred while she was inside the Target.
Okay. At 4:32, a few minutes after that call, what do we see captured on video?
This is a video that captures Monica Sementilli exiting the Target, and as she's exiting, she's staring into her cell phone, using her cell phone, and seems
Using herself.
It's overruled.
seems to be preoccupied in her cell phone and almost miss the exit to the Target.
Objection, that's argument.
Is that what we see right here?
It's overruled.
Yes,
She has to redirect herself.
correct. And still looking at the cell phone as she exits Target.
Looking at the exterior surveillance video now at 4:32, what do we see here?
This will just follow Monica as she walks out of the Target, through the parking lot, and back to the F-150.
Okay. And what do we see here at 4:37?
Monica places an outgoing call to her daughter, Isabella.
And next? What do we see here at 4:38?
At
1
4
minute after that call.
Yes, at 4:38, we'll see video that depicts the Ford F-150 exiting the Target lot. She backs out, actually comes the opposite direction of the direction when she arrived. Now she's the F-150 is stopped waiting for the traffic light.
At Ventura.
At Ventura, she negotiates a left-hand turn and travels down eastbound Ventura Boulevard.
Okay. Okay. What do we see here at 4:41 and 55 seconds, close to 4:42?
This is video that was captured in the Ralph's parking lot that's located on the southeast corner of Winnetka and Ventura Boulevard, and it will show the F-150 pulling into that Ralph's parking lot. The street where you see the bus there, that is Winnetka.
Okay.
So she's traveling southbound on Winnetka and actually enters one of the farthest entrances to that lot.
Passes several.
I believe there's at least one that you would pass.
And what do we see here at 4:42?
This is a sort of a closer video that captures the F-150, and it's going to travel through the parking lot and then park.
What's the next thing that we see here at 4:42? Bless you.
Yeah, a little less than a minute later, the entrance to the Ralph's supermarket, there's a surveillance camera there that captures Monica entering the market. She's pushing a cart, enters the market.
Okay, moving on to the 4:45 timeline. At this point, we obviously know, because we haven't seen any video of him leaving, that Fabio is on the back patio and that Baker and Austin are still at the location.
Correct.
All right. And what do we see here happening at 4:46 after the defendant entered the Ralph's Market?
This is a Viber message from Monica to Robert Baker.
What do we see at 4:52?
This video will depict Monica exiting the the Ralph's supermarket. I noted that she no longer has the cart. She's just carrying a bag out of the store.
Small bag.
Small bag, correct.
In her right hand.
That's correct, and looks like some sort of a purse from her left.
Okay. And 1 minute after she exits the Ralph's, what do we see here at 4:53?
We're going to see Fabio Sementilli's Porsche, black Porsche, driven by Baker with Austin in the passenger seat, travel down Queen Victoria and make that right-hand turn down Oakdale. This cutout of that is just to illustrate that there are 2 persons in the vehicle, and the one driving is wearing the green shirt, and the passenger is in a dark colored hoodie.
And based on the DNA evidence in this case, you know, obviously, that Baker's DNA was found in the driver's compartment as well as on the steering wheel.
Correct.
And 1 minute after Baker drove away with Austin in victim Fabio Sementilli's Porsche, what do we see happening at 4:54?
Isabella Sementilli returns home. We'll see her negotiate that left-hand turn from Oakdale onto Queen Victoria. And this is her driving that red Fiat.
And 2 minutes after that, at 4:56, what do we see?
We're going to see that same camera at the Ralph's, in the area of the Ralph's there, capture the Porsche traveling down Winnetka towards Ventura Boulevard. So there we see the Porsche, obviously with the green circle around it, traveling towards Ventura Boulevard.
So the opposite direction that we saw the defendant travel when she was southbound from the Target to the Ralphs.
Correct.
And what is the next event that we see occurring at 5:03 p.m. on the date that Fabio Sementilli was killed?
Yeah, this is approximately 10 minutes after Monica, after we see her exiting that Ralph. We're going to see the black F-150 traveling up Oakdale and make that left-hand turn onto Queen Victoria, and that is when Monica arrives home from Ralph's.
And at 5:14, in the late afternoon, what do we see here?
This is a Viber message from Robert Baker to Monica Sementilli.
And then just a few seconds later, we see that there's an incoming call to Baker.
Yes, Baker receives an incoming call from an individual in his contacts named LaShane Holmes.
And did his name come up during the course of your investigation?
Yes, it did.
And was he someone that you looked at, which we'll talk about a little bit later, as a potential third-party suspect in this case?
Yes.
And did you at some point exclude him because of certain evidence that you uncovered?
Yes, we, through our investigation, I determined that during the time of the crime, LaShane Holmes had an active parole ankle bracelet that had a GPS, and we contacted parole and learned that that basically the GPS showed him at home in the Orange County area at the time of the murder.
Was he also another location where, after the murder, besides Roger Brown at 331 Salem in Glendale, where he was observed by G&D and SIS surveillance crews, Al Birdsong's in Las Vegas, another Sheila and Ricardo Cabrera in the San Fernando Valley? Was this yet another location where Baker stayed for a period of time surrounding the murder?
Yes.
Connection, leading speculation, no foundation.
Sustained.
Did you uncover evidence that Baker also stayed for a period of time, 1 or 2 nights, with LaShane Holmes?
Yes.
If I could have a moment. All right. Now, looking at moving forward in our timeline on January 23rd to 9:20 p.m. From a video on Khalifa Street, can you describe what we see here?
This is a surveillance system that was attached to one of the residents in this area on Khalifa Street, which captures an individual parking and abandoning the Fabio's stolen Porsche.
Now, we talked about this location yesterday. Approximately how far is Khalifa from Baker's residence at the time, 6817 Independence?
It's I didn't map that out, but I know the area. I would say that it's several miles, 4 or 5 miles probably.
4 to 5?
Well, I'm going to object, Your Honor. This is pure speculation.
So overruled based on this witness's testimony.
This Khalifa location, do you know, again, approximately how far it is from the Sementilli residence on Queen Victoria?
I would say it's at least 5 miles as well. The Khalifa the area where the car was abandoned is. It's not like heavily. The houses are big. The properties are larger. So there's not a lot of pedestrian traffic. There's not a lot of traffic at all. It's
Residential.
It feels like rural residential when you go to that area, actually.
All right. Now I want to move on and ask you some other questions. We saw that it took the defendant 10 minutes to return home from the Ralph's Market on the day of the murder. On any of the occasions where you drove that route during the same time period that the defendant did from the Ralph's location back to the residence, did it ever take you 10 minutes?
Never.
In terms of the LA Fitness video, I know we talked about some of the video times being off and that they were corrected within the course of the creation of the PowerPoint timeline. Did you note that the LA Fitness video was off by an hour and 43 minutes?
Yes, that was noted, and in terms of this timeline, everything that's been depicted to the jury and to the court has been adjusted to the correct time that was verified through finding the differences in the video and also through the cell phone records and other records in the case.
Did you count the number of Viber messages between the defendant and Baker on the date of January 23rd of 2017?
I did.
What was that number?
I have so many numbers now. I'm trying to. I believe it was.
Is it approximately 180?
I'm going to object, Your Honor. This is speculation.
Overruled.
I'm sorry. The time period again.
On the day of the murder. Starting only, so I'm not talking about, I'm excluding any messages during midnight to 6 a.m.
Right.
counting in, as depicted in our timeline, during the 6 o'clock hour, we saw
Yeah.
that Viber message from the defendant to Baker, excluding that until that communication, that message from Baker to the defendant at 5:14 p.m. That was the last communication of the day, correct?
Not only was that the last communication of the day, but the Viber accounts were deactivated by both Robert Baker and Monica Sementilli on that day.
Okay. And after that date, they began using a different encrypted application to communicate, correct?
Correct.
And which one was that?
That was WhatsApp.